Our whole business is actually built on custom window treatment. Each of our products is made exactly for your window. If there's no window treatments, you don't realize until 8 p.m. that night when it starts to get dark and you think, oh my gosh, we're in a fishbowl, like everyone can see us.
Welcome to this episode of the Real Producers Partners Podcast. I'm your host, David Owen with Changescape Web, and each episode, we talk with a real producer's partner to learn more about them and their business. Today, I'm joined by Jennie Quinn. Jennie started her firm a couple years ago, correct?
Yes.
And I've had the opportunity to briefly chat with Jennie preparing for this podcast. And we're going to learn more about Bumblebee blinds and the value they bring to the marketplace. So welcome, Jennie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started with Bumblebee blinds.
Sure. So my professional career is actually in communication design and branding and logos. So that has been the majority of my career. I also teach at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design in their communication design program. And my husband is an engineer, and he's spent his whole career as an engineer working in the automotive industry, project management, leadership in that industry. And as we sort of approached this time in our lives, my husband was interested in what's the next chapter? What does it look like for us in our next phase of life? And so we had wanted to start a family business that married those two skill sets. And initially, Brian, my husband, who is also co-owner, he was looking at some different franchises. Really, I didn't know much about that particular space. But then we learned about Bumblebee Blinds, which is a franchise. It's a newer franchise, but we were really impressed with them as a group. And then from an industry standpoint, the home service industry, and then more specifically, window treatments, we found that it was a space where we could merge both our skill sets, bringing in that design eye and then that engineering mindset. And then both of us having leadership backgrounds, it was a really good fit. And so we opened here in Milwaukee, and we are one of the first opening group for this franchise. And so we're building the brand along with building our business. So really needing to do well, provide excellent service so that, when one of us looks good, we all look good, right? So we're really trying to build that foundation for us.
So it really leverages your skill set. Mm-hmm. And I know I went to school to be a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
That is a diverse, the two of you are very diverse in skills.
Absolutely. You could not have said that better. So we do play into each other's, weak areas, and it works out. We have, and I'm sure we'll get to this in a little bit, but we also have a wonderful design consultant, Darren Thomas, whose background is also in interior design. And the three of us, we're, I think Darren said it best once, we're a three-headed monster. Like we figure things out. Yeah, we figure it out. We've got, I feel like, the best skill sets that complement one another, and then also really lift each other up when the other one is maybe struggling or learning, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. So exactly how long have you guys been doing this?
Sure. So it is almost 18 months. Actually, it's longer. It's closer to 20 months. And so, anytime you start a new business, you are learning so much. Even, I say this all the time, but you don't know what you don't know. Right. So we had a really good education with product knowledge and just understanding our products, understanding the industry. But at the end of the day, when you're new to something, there is a learning curve. So that said, this first year and a half roughly has been very successful. I'm so proud of this team. We're getting out in the community, and we're really just like, it's really an all team effort to get our name out there and to meet people and just see what's going on in the space.
Sure. Well, the key thing, as you know, from the branding exercise is that unless you're known in the marketplace, you're invisible.
100%.
It doesn't matter how good your brand is.
Right. Exactly. And we've done several home shows over the past, year and a half. And that first home show, people would come to us and they'd say, oh, I've never heard of you guys. Like what, tell us about your business and tell us about your service. And so that has been my primary focus, especially in the beginning, was really just to get out there. We have a wonderful community here in Southeast Wisconsin, primarily the North Shore, and where we know a lot of folks. And it was just like, hey, I want them to say, oh, I didn't know the Quinns were doing that. Like, let's learn more. So we have been in parades, we're advertising in magazines and on the radio. I've been on a shopping cart, which I can't decide if is good or not. But it's really just saying like, who are these folks and what are they about? We drive a bright yellow van that you will no doubt probably see now that I've mentioned it, but it's got bees on it. It's got our branding on it. So it's very distinctive, really makes people say like, what is that? I've never seen that. So hopefully we're doing just that. We're bringing that brand awareness to this space.
Yeah. And you're trying to be everywhere.
Everywhere. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about a project. So how does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we don't have a showroom. We have a lovely office in Brown Deer where we work and we have all of our stuff, but our model is that we come to the customer. So we work in both residential and commercial spaces. But I'll speak right now to the residential aspect since it's, probably more common with this group here. Sure. When you make an appointment with us, we really we want it to be easy for you. We've had customers come out or reach out rather, and they say, I've had a broken blind in my bedroom for 5 months and I didn't know who to call, or I didn't feel like it, or, I have to measure and then I have to go to Home Depot or, wherever they want to go. So we want to take some of that weight off your shoulders. And so when Darren comes out to the home, he, first of all, prior to that appointment, he gives you a call, introduces himself, lets you know what to expect at that appointment, and then just tries to understand what you're looking for. So then when he does come to the appointment, he measures everything. So one less thing that you have to do. And that digital measure is connected to our quoting software. And I'll get to why that's important in just a second, but everything's accurate, laser measured, and then Darren will spend time with you, the customer. And we have some customers that know exactly what they want. They've seen it at a friend's house. Maybe they have a photograph. But in other cases, they are just really not sure. And in those cases, we say, okay, so we try to learn a little bit about maybe their pain points. So some people say, I really need pitch black to sleep. Okay, you might be a good candidate for blackout shades. Or we like to watch movies in this room. Same deal, blackout shades. We have some customers that will say, we love this space, but at around 3 p.m., the sun comes in and it gets so overwhelmingly hot. Sure. What can we do to mitigate that? And on those same lines, we have customers who maybe their floor is fading or their furniture is fading because of that sun exposure. So we want to pair you up with a product that will help obviously address those pain points and then also aesthetically fit within your home. So Darren is just top notch at that. He goes over the products, he goes over the samples. So we come with everything in that van. And then after that consultation, Darren will take maybe, 15 minutes or so, and he puts together a quote in your home that day so that before he leaves, if you are ready, if we've addressed the things, you can get the project started. And, maybe you're not ready at that second, but then you have numbers in hand to say, right, okay, this is great. I'd love to talk to my partner about this or my family. and then, you can get back to us the next day or the day after. And then if you do decide to move forward with us, then we do the installation. So we manage that order, we bring it here in-house, and then we work with our installers to get that up for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the install team is not a part of the team that comes out to figure out what they're going to do.
Well, actually, that's a thoughtful question, because sometimes, let me say this. Initially, no, they don't come out. But we've had cases where, say, a person is looking at shutters. Shutters are a pretty particular project. They're basically, hardware for your windows. So, and the fitting is very precise. So if a customer is interested in shutters, Darren does all the measuring. He gets a really, really good idea of what that's going to cost for you. But then before we order anything, we typically have a second, we call it a follow-up visit, where we bring one of our installers to do a precise measure, specifically the installer that would work on that project. Because they're familiar with the house, they're familiar with the windows, and then we can get really granular on the things that we're ordering. Same thing with drapery. Sometimes drapery is a little tricky as well. And so again, it might require that second precise measure. But I'd say maybe 85% of the time, 90% of the time, we don't have to do that.
So I'm sure since you've been in business a fairly short amount of time, you've figured out what makes you different from other providers.
Yeah.
And what is that?
It is customer service and communication.
Okay.
Communication is like top priority here in our small team, because it is just the three of us. Right. But it's also based on, something that we wanted to start in the beginning, but then coupled with some of the feedback we hear from customers. They'll say, oh, I reached out to so-and-so. Either I haven't heard back, or I'm still waiting for a quote. It's been, a week or 4 days or whatever. We are going to keep you informed, and we're going to be responsive almost 100% of the time. If you call us, we might even just call right back and say, hey, we're swamped today. Let me call you later. So there's never this sort of like, what's going on, and just like anything else, especially if, the audience has done any sort of home projects, that they don't always go precisely to plan, right? So when that happens, if and when it happens, we're going to deliver the news. We just worked with a commercial customer, and they were previously working with a couple other different vendors, and they called us in and said, hey, we've had some issues working with these other guys. We learned that what was happening is they were getting some bad news from their vendors, and unfortunately didn't want to communicate that to the customer. Yeah. And we get it. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun, but worse than that is not knowing and not being able to fix. Yep. Being surprised. So, and I can kind of get into this with regards to our products, but all of our products have a warranty, and that's through our vendors. But as a location, our warranty is that you can call us and we're going to figure out a way to fix it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So you talk about products. Where are your products made?
Sure. So we actually work with a handful of vendors. And the reason we do that is because then it gives us the opportunity to address different customer needs, different customer budgets. So we work with Graber, which is a really well-known brand. They have an office, or rather a location in Middleton. So they're very close to us. We work with Alta and Hunter Douglas. Hunter Douglas is fairly new to us. And so we're actually onboarding them right now. They have a very specific customer. And so what actually has been helpful for us is that we know a lot of folks in this area actually quote Hunter Douglas, and we're able to often quote a similar product for a little bit less money than the customer is looking to spend, which is helpful. We also work with Insaroll, who's like the number one brand in any sort of roller or solar shade. Their company is in Colorado. So that's really great just from a quality control standpoint. They test everything, before they send it out. And then we also work with Horizons. Trying to think of the other ones. I think I got the main ones. Yeah, those are our main vendors that we work with.
Well, and having a fairly compact list of people you work with, I would think makes it easier to know exactly what you're going to do and what you're going to do.
Yeah. And it really helps us, we use so-and-so for drapery. Well, we'd rather use these guys for shutters. And so we have the products that each vendor really excels in, and we're able to pretty quickly connect them to the right customer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what is, are the products typically made in the U.S. or are they?
Sure. Sure. So sometimes they're made overseas or in Mexico. Like I said, Insaroll's in Colorado.
Okay.
So if that's, very important to a customer, we could try to steer them in that direction. We've also worked with some local workrooms as far as if a customer maybe wants drapery. And they have their own material. So we call that it's customer owned material. It's a COM project. Then we can typically either work with one of our vendors or we can work with a local workroom to then get that fabricated here locally in the area. Yeah.
So you can do very custom work as well.
Yes. So our whole business is actually built on custom window treatment. So you might say, well, what's the difference between, going to a big box store and you guys? Right. Sometimes the big box stores can fit your needs. However, each of our products is made exactly for your window. So unless you have a brand new house that has perfectly, rectangle or square windows, or even mounting depth, you're probably going to be happier with a custom product. Right. And the products themselves, it is an investment. And so some folks that are new to home improvement projects, they learn very quickly that this is something that's great for the home, but it is an investment for your home. So you can estimate, and this is a very broad estimate based on the variables that impact cost of a particular product. But if you're doing a whole house full of windows, it may be roughly 1% to 3% of your home value. And that's a whole house full. Right. And so the customization is really just fantastic because you're able to get, certain things in one room, different products in the rest, but everything fits exactly to your space.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I just had windows installed.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work? For
windows
you guys?
So first of all, if you're considering getting your windows replaced, then you want to have those windows replaced prior to us coming out. Right. Because a lot of folks would love for their existing treatments to stay on those windows, but we have learned that typically they do not. Even if the dimensions are similar, there's going to be enough discrepancies or differences between the old and the new that you wouldn't want us to come out prior to that installation. And so, but going off that, you just got these new windows. I would like to believe that the treatments are a part of that. They're a finishing touch. They, you can expose as much as that window as you'd like, allow as much light as you'd like in, privacy, things like that. So they go hand in hand. And I wanted to just briefly tell a story when we were discussing like the custom window treatment option. When my son was little, this was before we owned the business, when he was, a baby and in his crib, we lived on a very busy street, and we just bought some blackout shades from a big box store, and they kind of fit. I mean, they did sort of their job, but there was a pretty large gap, a light gap between the shade and the windowsill. And every night, my husband or I would jimmy a fix, or we'd Velcro the shade to the trim. Like, I mean, picture yourself as a new parent, already stressed out. And then every night, like, oh, I got to figure out how to make this, because there was a street light that like just beamed right on his little face when he slept. And had I known, I mean, I didn't really know anything. Had I known that there was an option to get something custom, I would have done that all the way. Now we've done nurseries where the customer will get a blackout shade, and then you can actually get, they're called like side channels. And so that room is dark, like dark when you make it happen that way. So I wish my young mom self would have known that.
Yeah. I can see in a scenario like that, a roll of duct tape in my life.
I mean, we probably should have done that too. We would have done anything to get that kid to sleep at that time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I had a son just like that.
Yeah. If only we could go back in time, but we can't. So we'll just tell everyone else what we think would be a better solution.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to the window installation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you want to be involved in that discussion?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. No, because truthfully, you get the windows replaced, and they're your windows, they're your preference. So we just ask that we get brought out after, so that everything's finished and we're taking measurements at the most finished point.
Okay. So talk a little bit. I mean, window shades are what I think of.
Yeah.
When I talk about window treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little more about your product.
Yeah, there's so many different kinds. And in the same way that I think people sometimes, use the word Band-Aid, like the brand name for just a bandage.
Right.
People say to us, oh, we need shades, or we need blinds. And they might be talking about something else, but they just use that. It's synonymous.
Generic.
With them. Yes. So we offer pretty much any product that you would put on your window to cover the windows. So, and I can also kind of talk about it in a way that reflects the price structure too, because there are so many things that impact that cost. Product is one of them. And so if we're kind of starting at the lower end of that budget scale, a honeycomb shade or a cellular shade is something we see a lot of in this area. They're easy on the budget. They're great for noise insulation and even like energy insulation, because they sit really close to the window.
Yeah.
They get a really short stack at the top. So if someone says, oh, I just love my view, like I don't want to compromise that, we tend to lead them in this direction, or a roller shade, because when the shade is up, you get all of that window. And a person can also get it top down and bottom up. So we have, if you're maybe in a more densely populated neighborhood and you still want that light coming in, but you don't maybe want people to see inside your home, it's a really great option, because then you can pull the shade down from the top, really get that beautiful natural light in there, but then the bottom is covered. We have customers that also do that because they don't want their dogs to look out the window and bark during the day when they're at work. Right. So like all these things you never even thought of, but that's one of the things. And then we also do roller shades, which again, are super streamlined. We install those a lot in newer homes or more contemporary homes. We also use roller shades from a layered standpoint. So we I shouldn't say just, but we had a project last year for a home in Pewaukee. The customer was on Pewaukee Lake. Beautiful. They did roller shades, motorized, to help with the sun, but then they did drapery on the side from an aesthetic standpoint to sort of warm up that space. So you can really kind of tailor those aesthetically to whatever your taste is, basically.
Okay.
And then kind of synonymous with that is a solar shade, which helps with those UV rays. You can get them in different percentages. So you might say, oh, I only want 1% of the UV light that comes in that house. The weave of that pattern is very tight. And so that helps with keeping that sun out, keeping the room a little bit cooler. And then you can get a looser screen. So like a 5%, a 10%, to cut that light a little bit, but also enables, a little more light filtering, right? We do Roman shades, which are beautiful. Our interior designers really love those. They're a softer look. You can get them in a couple different styles. A Roman shade, you probably recognize them as they're sort of like tiered. It's like typically a fabric that's tiered. We do drapery, which is very common in this area. And it's a tricky one. It's particular from a measurement standpoint. So again, going back to, could you buy those at a big box? Sure. They might be this far off the floor. They might be too long. So we can get them in the exact position. We like to say they're just kissing the floor. It's like a 1/4 of an inch above the floor. And then we also do shutters. Some of the older homes in Whitefish Bay really they gravitate to that look. And lastly, most of the products are available in motorization. And so a few years back, as an industry, they stopped making products with cords from a safety standpoint. So that might be something that you want to look at in your home. Do you have young kids? Do you have grandkids that come over? If your window treatments still have cords, you should know that industry-wide, those have been banned from a safety standpoint. So we do cordless options. We do a continuous loop. So it is a cord kind of, but it is that continuous loop, like a pulley system. And then they're often, they have to be secured to the wall from a security standpoint. And then motorization. So some people, if they have very tall windows, you can't reach them. You're going to look at motorization. Or if you want to just be really cool and like walk in your house and push a button and all the shades go up or down.
Right.
That's another great thing. We have them in our office. I don't have them at home. And I've even said to my husband, like, I think we need to switch these out pretty soon because we have them at the office and it's great. It's really fun.
Yeah. So who would you want to meet in the marketplace that you haven't met? We've talked a lot about residential.
Yeah.
What are there commercial types of companies you want to meet?
Well, I mean, commercial, we've done, a handful of different products, schools. We just finished the Karma Labs headquarters. So the people that make Carmex, huge new facility in Franklin. I think we did maybe 55 motorized shades in their common spaces. So commercial, I mean, we're really open to whatever is out there. I will say from a residential standpoint, what I would love to be connected with or who to be connected with is when I'm on social media or when I'm scrolling or searching, just fun searching like Zillow or Realtor.com. A lot of homes that I see that are staged, or maybe they're just, that's just the way the home is. A lot of times I don't see any window treatments. And It's interesting to me because they are, I suppose maybe with the exception of drapes. But like when we moved from our house, we left all the window treatments because they are more of a permanent fixture. And so I just am always wondering, how do the homeowners, I guess I would love to be offered or referred to the new homeowner to say, hey, because I also think it's kind of the last thing on people's minds. And I can say this from experience. When you're buying a home, you're so wrapped up in the paperwork and the moving and there's so much, right, to put in place, changing your address, that first night that you're in the home, if there's no window treatments, you don't
Yeah.
realize until 8 p.m. that night when it starts to get dark and you think, oh my gosh, we're in a fishbowl. Like everyone can see us.
Yeah.
That happened to me when we always lived in apartments and then we bought our first home and I don't think we got new window treatments. I mean, we kind of just lived with the ones that were there, but there were some windows that didn't have anything on them. And truly, you don't know what that looks like from the outside until you're on the outside. I remember I walked by our house and I just thought, oh my gosh, you can see right in there. You can see everyone. So I would love to be available or referred by realtors that are selling homes and noticing that maybe there's not any treatments on the windows and really being that one step ahead for their customer to say, like, when you guys come in that first night, you want privacy. So we would love to help with that.
Sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is there any commercial projects that are on your radar?
Not on our radar. The ones that we've gotten have been either they call in and are just searching for people to help, or we've had designer referrals, which is great. When they were building the Couture, if you are familiar with the Milwaukee area, it's this beautiful new high rise right by the lake. Right. I reached out to their manager and I just said, hey, I noticed you guys have a lot of windows, like to say the least, like, what are you doing? And she was like, you know what? Like the building is coming with certain ones in the bedrooms, but as far as the living spaces, she was under the impression they didn't have anyone lined up. And so we were able to tour the facility. It was before it was even open. So we like rode in the elevator that went outside the building. And I mean, long story short, we measured all the units and come to find out the contractor actually had worked with the owners to outsource. You know, they had another vendor, which totally makes sense given the scale and the volume of that building. But to your point, I mean, I haven't had anything really in the crosshairs since. It kind of just when it comes up. But, you know, when we see new developments, we typically try to contact that person. But the residential has been keeping us so busy that I admittedly, I haven't been super focused on that in my own efforts. If it's referred to us, that's great. And we'll take care of it. But
so that brings up another point.
Yeah.
How's the best way to get a hold of you all? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our website is bumblebeeblinds.com/Milwaukee-WI, so Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And on that site is our phone number. You can give us a call. You can actually just schedule an appointment right on the website, which honestly, if I was doing it, that's what I would do. Sure. It comes right to us and we receive the request and then myself or our design consultant calls you right away. So we book the appointment and then we call you to talk about your project. So that is probably the easiest way, is just the website. If you're interested in seeing our projects, we are also on Instagram. The account is just bumblebeeblinds.Milwaukee.
Okay.
And that has, I would say that's probably a little bit more fresh with like new content. Our recent installs, we were recently on the Morning Blend on TMJ4. Any sort of other videos or specials that we're running, it's typically all on Instagram. So you can check it out there. Yeah.
All right. So also talk about lead time.
Oh, yeah. Lead time. Okay. So lead time, we like to say between 3 and 4 weeks. So if we order a product, you know, say your appointment's on a Wednesday, we typically do orders, you know, maybe the end of the week. So we plan for 3 to 4 weeks from that order. Sometimes it comes in faster and we love to call the customer and tell them that. Depending on the product, maybe motorization, maybe drapery, that might go a little bit longer, but that's sort of the sweet spot, those 4 weeks. Okay. And again, when we, you know, as far as next steps with the customer, when they sign an estimate with us, meaning they sign the contract, essentially, they will put down a deposit of their total to pay right up front. And then we let them know when we get an estimated ship date, then we reach back out and then we try to anticipate that install date. Yeah.
So you're in communication through that whole part of the project as well.
Yeah. There's going to be maybe 2 or 3 weeks where you don't hear from us because that's when, the product is being produced and shipped. But, sort of bookended is us saying, hey, we placed the order. We're looking at, 3 weeks from now, and then we'll give you a call when we actually get it in, and then we'll get it scheduled. Yeah.
All right. So during that period, what can the client / prospect expect from beyond just the bookends? Is there a communication as to how we're going, or
not typically
still on track or something?
Yeah. If we see a big delay, sometimes we've had, and it's not often, but either if a fabric is back ordered or, worst case scenario, discontinued, which we typically catch prior to ordering. But, again, I'm just throwing out some scenarios.
Sure.
We will give the customer an update, absolutely, and say, hey, we just got this new ship date in. It's looking like May. We'll keep you posted if we hear something earlier. So again, coming back to that communication, like even if it's not great news, we're going to tell you about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So your approach is very hands-on.
Yes.
And direct communication on site. So what's your geography?
Oh, yeah. So we're personally located in the North Shore. We're in Brown Deer, and our territory is, we go as far north as Sheboygan.
Okay.
And then we can go to Menominee Falls, Cedarburg, Germantown. We go as far south, and if we're kind of like hugging the lakeshore, as like St. Francis, the 3rd Ward, and then as far west as Brookfield, Lake Country. So we can go kind of, I don't want to say anywhere, because certainly if it's like a 2-hour drive, I don't know if we're going to do it. Let's talk about it. Maybe it's worth it. Right.
Yeah.
But pretty much that general area. We've done homes in Oak Creek, Kenosha. So that's the general area.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, we've chatted for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention.
We, from a price standpoint, we're competitive with, some of the other names that are out there. We're not going to be the most expensive. We're not going to be the cheapest. But you're going to get the best value from us.
Yeah, there you go. I think value is what I hear.
Yeah, it's 100% value. We just want to be someone that you want to work with. So I think that's where we're going to win the race.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you
I
so
sure
much.
appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
And again, can you give the website?
Yes.
In case nobody wrote it down?
That is fine. And honestly, if you Google, worst case scenario, Bumblebee Blinds Milwaukee, we're going to show up. But the website is bumblebeeblinds.com/Milwaukee-WI. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, the web, all the places.
All right. That's great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.